Ohio State has been busy using the transfer portal to stack talent and address key needs across the roster.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to your Tuesday edition of Locked On Buckeyes, which is your daily Ohio State podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. During today's show, we will fix the college football playoff format, as well as discuss the importance of the Buckeyes adding depth in the offseason. But before we get to any of that, them boys been busy in the portal, acquiring 4 players in a 24-hour span that were in the transfer portal, and it's all to stack talent and address key needs across the roster. And Ryan Day understands the assignment. Many of us, myself included, did not fully think Ryan Day was going to do what he did against Tennessee, having a superior game plan on offense and on defense, putting guys in the right positions to be successful, that the Buckeyes maximize talent. Many people were unsure if that was going to be the Buckeyes' mindset going into Tennessee, and that's what they did. Now, when it comes to the portal, we have seen Ryan Day utilize the portal in a great way just a year ago, acquiring numerous quality players. Julian Sand didn't play, wasn't going to come in to start. That's a quality guy that might be the Buckeyes QB1 in 2025. Will Howard, quality. Caleb Downs, Seth McLaughlin, enough said. Quality players. That's what Ryan Day decided to do a year ago. And I believe he's doing the same thing once again, trying to go to the portal and get quality athletes. And Ryan Day could have a mindset that he's going to try to wait to put the pressure on till after the Buckeyes are done playing football this year. And, of course, that would be great if it was towards the end of January, because that means you played in the national championship and probably, honestly, right now, if the Buckeyes win the Rose Bowl, they're probably going to be the favorite to win the national championship. So Ryan Day could have done that, could have waited. No. The Buckeyes have been hosting numerous players on official visits over the past couple of weeks and realizing we can't wait. Oregon's not going to wait. They already got a guy that Ohio State was planning on bringing in for a visit. Said player went to Oregon first, canceled the visit to Ohio State and said, nope, I'm going to be transferring from Purdue to go play in Eugene, Oregon. That's what Dylan Thieneman decided to do, former Purdue Boilermaker. Now you're having guys come in that, a running back, feeling a need. We'll discuss that here in a second. A defensive end, feeling a need. Tight end, feeling a need. Offensive tackle, we know what kind of need that is. The Buckeyes are using the portal right now to fill in holes in the roster in a great way, and Ryan Day's not waiting. Ryan Day is someone, while there are question marks about Ryan Day and what Ryan Day might do next year against the team up north, we realize that Ryan Day is pushing the right buttons, putting the right coaches on the team and putting them in situations to be successful. Regardless of your thoughts about Justin Fry did a phenomenal job of preparing that offensive line group for the Tennessee game. Now, Ryan Day did come out and say that the plan is still to rotate and use 3 offensive guards. I'm surprised it worked as well as it did. That's not something you normally do in football, but Ryan Day is saying this is what we're going to do. I am still kind of skeptical about that because we saw what Oregon's D-line did against Ohio State in the 6th game of the season back in October. Now, all of a sudden, Oregon's at full strength. October 12th, they didn't have Jordan Burch, their best defensive lineman. He's back at defensive end. And so now you have Uwe Ungalale, you got Jordan Burch, you got you got Harmon right there in the middle. You got 3 guys right there that can change a game. Are you sure that rotating at guard is what's going to happen? Now, Ryan, they did say he's going to go back and watch the film and reevaluate, but right now it's to use all 3. As much as I don't like that move, it worked for Ohio State. And it could work again and again and again. I say those 3 times because there's 3 more games the Buckeyes have to win the Natty, and that might be the move in all 3 games. Do you play Texas? Possibly. Texas has a good defense, good defensive line. Will you play 3 guys? Maybe. Who will you play in the Natty? Not sure. But this is working for Ohio State right now. And what's working for Ohio State is going to the portal to get some quality guys. One guy that I think is going to be a huge piece of the offense next year, no matter if he is RB1 or RB2. It's CJ Donaldson, former West Virginia running back, sitting at 6'2", 238 pounds. The Buckeyes also added Logan George and Max Clare and Ethan Onanwa. I hope I said that correctly. George is a defensive end from Idaho State. Clare, a tight end from Purdue. And then Onanwa is an offensive tackle from Rice. CJ Donaldson, though, when you think about the running back room as it currently sits, Trevion Henderson is gone. There's no more collegiate eligibility left. He is going into the NFL. Will probably be a high day 2 draft pick, probably a second-round draft pick. Outside of that, Quinshon Judkins, you're not sure if he's going to play in Columbus next year or if he's going to go to the NFL. That's a decision that he has to make, and we'll get that announcement probably within the next 30 days. And so if Judkins goes or if Judkins stays, whichever decision he wants to make, you're going to want to add at least one running back that has some success, that's played college football at a high level to that room. Because if not, you got James Peoples, inexperienced, Sam Williams-Dixon, inexperienced, and then 3 incoming true freshmen in Bo Jackson, Isaiah West, and Turbo Rogers. Well, all 5 of those guys that are inexperienced are really, really talented. You want somebody in there that has some experience to put up there at the top of the room. And let's just say James Peoples is a guy that is going to start. Judkins, let's say Judkins is gone in this hypothetical situation, and Henderson, is gone. Let's say Peoples wins the job. Do you truly want to have your backup running back to be an inexperienced guy? Or do you want to have a guy do you not want to have a vet in the room at all? Those are legitimate things that Carlos Loughlin is having to deal with, and questions he's having to answer in himself before trying to go to the portal and acquire somebody. In comes CJ Donaldson now, 6'2", 238. You say, yeah, that's a big boy. You're correct. He came in as a tight end, and due to necessity, he ended up moving to the running back room last year. 163 carries, 734 yards, 4.5 yards a pop, and 11 touchdowns. Seems like a very successful transition via the numbers. Go watch the film. It'll tell you and show you it's a very good and successful transition for him going from tight end to running back. Now, will he play at 238 next year? It's possible. It's also possible he goes down to between 225 to 238. I'm not sure. That's up to Mickey Mariotti and Carlos Loughlin, that tandem together to try to figure out the right weight for the young man. But that's a need, man. You don't want to go into a season with 5 inexperienced running backs. TC Coffey healthy, a walk-on running back. Let's just say that he stays in Ohio State next year. You're not getting experience. Yeah, he's played maybe 10 or 11 carries in his entire Buckeye career. That's more than some guys, but that's not experience. And the fact that right now Ohio State has already brought in a former Big 12 running back that's been successful out there, 10+ rushing touchdowns a year ago. You're checking a box, baby. You're getting some things right, and you're going to the portal to stack talent. That room is already stacked full of talent, but it's inexperienced talent. Now you're stacking talent and adding depth in key positions on the roster. That running back room is one of those spots. And I do think Ohio State offensively is going to be good next year. I don't know who's going to be the QB1. We got 8, 9, 10 months to talk about 8 or 9 months to really talk about the quarterback battle and who might be who might have the upper hand. We'll talk more about the portal and quarterback later on in the week. I do think the portal might help the Buckeyes in the QB room, and it might be an avenue they utilize to bring in another quarterback this offseason. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not really sure where that thought is going to go later in the week. Just tap into the show on Thursday to figure out more about the portal and the quarterback conversation in regards to the Ohio State Buckeyes in 2025. One thing we know about the Buckeyes in 2025 is that they need to focus on doing one thing with the roster. Is something they did with CJ Donaldson, and they must take that same approach with other positions on the roster. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel. It's America's #1 sports book because right now new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick up a W. I love betting on which players will score a touchdown and how many points each team will score. It's thrilling. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports book partner of the NFL. This episode is brought to you by Billiards Plus. Billiards Plus has the best selection of pool tables, game tables, shuffleboard tables, and more. And the best service in Central Ohio. Everything you need for in-home and even backyard entertainment is at Billiards Plus. Billiards Plus carries the best pool tables from Brunswick, Ohio, Canada, Billiards, and more. And the grills, whether you like charcoal or gas or wood-fired, Billiards Plus has a perfect setup for all grillers. No matter the season, Billiards Plus has you covered for all your indoor and outdoor entertainment needs. Kenny, Sarah, and the whole staff will always go above and beyond to give you the best customer service in the industry. Billiards Plus. Visit their showroom on Dublin Center Drive in Dublin. Thank you all for tapping into Locked On Buckeyes and making this show your first listen of the day. One thing we know about Ohio State is that a year ago they went to the portal, brought in Caleb Downs, brought in Seth McLaughlin, brought in Julian Sand, brought in Will Howard, brought in Quinshawn Judkins, brought in Will Kazmarek. They went to the portal and got quality athletes. Every player that I mentioned but one has started a game for Ohio State this year. Seth McLaughlin won the Remington Award for the best center in the country. Will Howard has been playing phenomenal this year. It's had a career year in the Scarlet and Gray. Caleb Downs. I mean, what else can you say with the man? He is just a game wrecker. He gets things done. Quinshawn Judkins started numerous games this year. The Buckeyes have been very successful with their quality over quantity approach to the portal. That same thing needs to happen this year. And they are taking that same approach right now when they've added three of the other guys we haven't really highlighted yet so far in the portal. Logan George, defensive end from Idaho State. That's one that I think is very, very interesting because I am a person that not myself included, many people understand at the FCS level, there are a lot of quality guys that can play at the high level in college football. Now, for whatever reason, they have started off lower, and some guys stay at the FCS level. I'm sure there's guys at Montana State, South Dakota State, or Montana, maybe Montana State too. I am not sure. South Dakota State, North Dakota State. There's a lot of guys out there at those schools that could play at some of the bigger schools in the country. But you're at the elite of the elite in the FCS. You're a surefire guy to be in contention to get a ring at the end of the season. That says a lot. Now, Logan George to me, 6'5", 269 pounds. This year his numbers, 57 tackles, 19.5 TFLs, 6.5 sacks. Just thinking about the depth and the importance of this acquisition for next season. Ohio State already needed to go ahead and get to the portal to get some guys anyway because there's some more things that the Buckeyes need to do via the pass rush that I do think is a big need. Also, just getting defensive linemen to make more plays behind the line of scrimmage. That's a very big need as well. And so when it comes to Logan George, at the defensive end spot, Jack Sawyer and Toy Malowal, those guys are gone. So your two starting defensive ends for multiple years, they're gone to the NFL. Now, you may want to pencil in Kenyatta Jackson Jr. and Kane Curry as automatic starters. That's cool. What's behind them? I'll wait. Are you comfortable putting Joshua Mickens right there as a backup defensive end right now? I'm not. Edric Houston has moved from defensive end down to defensive tackle. Probably going to start next year alongside Caden McDonald. In comes Logan George. Even if he's not your one of your backup defensive ends, he's probably going to be in the rotation. And he's going to be a guy I do think late in the season, if the transition goes smoothly and he gets his weight up and he understands the strength and conditioning at Ohio State and he picks up what Larry Johnson and Jim Knowles are putting down, he is a guy I do think is going to play a depth piece for the Buckeyes. I don't think he's going to be an immediate starter. A depth piece is what he is going to be. When it comes to Max Clare, the #1 tight end in the country, this is one that's interesting because I have been saying this for a very long time that Ohio State needs to give more attention to their tight ends and just the receiving game. Will Kazmarek is still at Ohio State. He'll be there next year. He's more of your top blocking tight end in the room. I think he can be a threat in the passing game. They don't use him like that, though, but I do think if you give him a few targets a game, or maybe there may be a game where he gets 5 or 6 targets, I think he can be a major asset in that room in the Ohio State's passing attack. G. Scott Jr. is gone. The other guys behind Kazmarek are Bennett Christian, Jelani Thurman, and then you have a couple tight ends in the 2025 cycle for Ohio State that have already signed. The young guys are not going to play. You bring in a guy like Max Clare. Is he going to be the first starting tight end or the second? Doesn't really matter. But he's going to be a big piece of the pie. Whoever QB1 is next year. A quarterback's best friend is your tight end and sometimes your running back on a swing pass or in the flat. Those things can be great. Why? Those can be your checkdowns. Those can be your guys that, hey, things are kind of breaking down. Things are going well. Where's my tight end or where are my running backs? It's kind of helping me gain that confidence. And even under duress, you know who you can rely on to get that completion and to move the ball down the field. Max Clare is that guy. Then Ethan Ananwa, I may get that correctly, 34 starts in his career at Rice, started 9 times at right tackle this year. In 2023, he had 13 starts at right tackle. And then in 2022, we had 12 starts between left tackle and right tackle. It's a lot of starts, man. It's a lot of starts for a guy. And one thing I have learned over the past, really couple of years, I'm trying to tap into the portal and to see what kind of quality guys are down there or in there. There's a lot of great offensive talent at the G5 level. Now, you like Simmons, transfer up. He might end up being a first-round pick, maybe a second-round pick, but what is it? Multi-year starter at Ohio State. Started right away. Of course, there's a learning curve and there's a size difference. There's a mass and a muscle difference between San Diego State, where he came from, and being at Ohio State, being a multi-year starter. There's a learning curve. Once he got all of those things figured out, Simmons is a guy that Ohio State fans are realizing he gets the job done every day of the week and twice on Sunday. And Ananwa, if I'm saying his name incorrectly, forgive me. Bringing in the number 13 tackle in the portal. This is all via 247 Sports. That's huge. But then we look at some of his grades via PFF. His overall grade for this year was 74.6. That's not atrocious at all. His overall pass blocking grade, 79.3. And I do think when Ohio State realizes you're losing Simmons, you're losing Josh Schreier, so your 2 starting tackles this year are gone. Zen Mahovsky, backup left tackle at one point this year, is in the portal. The other backup left tackle, Donovan Jackson, going to the NFL. So you have 2 tackle spots available. Now, do they move Austin Saravalda out to tackle? Do they move Luke Montgomery out to tackle? Do they move Tego Shabola out to tackle? I think Montgomery's going to be a guard next year, starting guard for Ohio State. I think Josh Padilla could be a starting center next year for Ohio State. Move Carson Hinsman to guard, which I think Carson Hinsman, it was a phenomenal left guard. Saravalda, Shabola, those guys might be starters next year. I think Saravalda, Hinsman, and Montgomery are. Shabola, got to wait and see. There's still another starting spot available. There's multiple. Bringing in this kid from Rice, that adds depth, but also he's stacking talent, and also you're checking off boxes. I'm not penciling him in as a starter, even though he's been a multi-year starter at Rice. But what I do know is this: if he has the same trajectory as Simmons did at Ohio State, he could be a starter in Columbus next year. One thing I would love to see in Columbus next year, and really all around the country, is some change to the college football playoff format. We'll dive into all that next. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is focused on togetherness this holiday season. That means when you bring people together at live events, the experience is that much better. And Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. While Game Time Picks is the spot to help you filter out the stuff to show you only incredible deals on great seats. They also have amazing features such as all-in pricing, being able to get a panoramic view from your seat, the lowest price guarantee, and they still have that game time ticket coverage, which means your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry, and all of it is geared to help take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply again. Create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Thank you all for tapping in Locked On Buckeyes and making this show your first listen of the day. This week, going to be mixing in the portal and the Rose Bowl. Sprinkle some Duck conversation in there as well, because all of this week is big. Anytime we talk about Ohio State, it's a big deal. But also when Ohio State is in the Rose Bowl, it's a big deal. And winning the Rose Bowl this year means you're advancing in the playoff. It's an even bigger deal. I love the granddaddy of them all. And I would also love the Buckeyes to be a big reason why there's change to the college football format. Now, I've mentioned this a little bit, and I'm not going to be naive to say that expansion is not going to happen down the road. I do believe it's almost concrete that in 2026, we're going to move to a 14-team format. Down the road, I would anticipate a 16-team format, maybe a 20 or a 24-team format. Until you break off G5 and Power 4, you're going to have to keep expanding. The more G5 schools you bring in there, they get knocked out first round or don't really have a great showing. I do think that is going to be a big reason why some changes come to the format. And I'm not here to say that this current format is been a massive failure, because I don't think one weekend with the 4 blowouts is a reason to say, oh, one weekend shows me this has been a massive failure. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying this stuff ain't right. That's all I'm saying. So one change. It just doesn't matter if it's a 12-team, a 14, a 16, a 18, a 5,000. I don't really care what number of teams are in the format, at least right now. Seed them 1 through whatever. There are 12 teams currently in the college football playoff. Let's just assume there are going to be 14 teams in the playoff in 2026. Seed them 1 through 12, 1 through 14. Don't give an automatic qualifier for conference champions, because one thing we know about college football, there's not an even playing field across all conferences. When you have 16 teams in the SEC and 18 teams in the Big Ten, and those are the 2 best conferences in college football, even there can be an easier schedule for one school and a harder schedule for one school. In come Indiana. My mom's an IU grad. But IU schedule this year, my mama would even tell you, it was sad, man. They ain't played nobody. Hey, going into the playoff was my one reason why I told people I thought the Hoosiers were going to lose to the Fighting Irish, because the one time IU played a real team, they got smacked. And so I said, why should I believe that they're going to go into Notre Dame and upset the Fighting Irish when they're not even on the same level as Notre Dame? And we saw that on Friday night. I do think seeding it 1 through 12, I don't care if there's a multitude, if there's mainly SEC schools, or if there's mainly Big Ten schools, or if there are 3 or 4 G5 schools. I don't really care about that. I do to a degree. I do to with the G5, because they're not on the same level. But if the committee wants to say that Boise State's one of the top 10 teams in the country, even though I don't think so, if they put them in there, seed them where they are. If they're 11, if they're 5, seed them where they are and let that decide who is the best team in the country. The fact that this year, Clemson, because they were the ACC champ, got into the playoff, that's a flawed system. They also got beat right away. So the system being flawed is one thing. But also, you realize you're the number 16 team. You're not supposed to be able to compete with these schools in the top 12 in the playoff. And we saw that right away. They were not able to. It was at times late. It got a little close, but Texas is going to win that game. Also, I think what we have seen so far in the first sign of playoff games being played on campuses, I think that you should have the first round and the quarterfinal round played on home sites. And let's just say with this 12-team format, there's 4 buys. For the top 4 teams get a bye, cool. Like it's cool with the math. So 5 through 8 in the first round have home games. All of a sudden, turning right around, they got to go on the road because the top 4 teams in the country, they get a home game. Now imagine this. Imagine this. I don't have it right in front of me. I'm going to pull this up really quickly. I don't really normally do this during shows, but I want to pull this up to get the top 4 teams just to give a good example about what this means for them. I got it in my head. Boise State, Georgia, Arizona State, and Oregon. Those 4 schools should be rewarded for winning their conference championship games in this current format and being a top 4 team in the country. Give them a home game. I love college football. You love college football. Many of you do. You would love to watch a game in Austin Stadium. A night game there. It's an insane environment. Boise State with that blue turf. That's a fun place to watch a game on television. It's a great made-for-TV experience. Arizona State out west. Cool. Not your traditional, but reward them. Reward them. More games on home at schools is great. Personally, I also think that you should actually eliminate the Final Four being in bowl games. Make those home sites too, to where the only true neutral site game is a national championship. Eliminate the 10-day window where the games can be played for health and safety of players that's inside the contract of the CFP, and allow that to be something to where games, you move the calendar up, eliminate conference championship games. I think those are worthless anyway. I have not been a big fan of them. You can decide your conference champion based off the games that are played in the regular season. Do that. Eliminate conference championship games. Move the calendar up. Eliminate the 10-day window that has to be open to fill the health and safety of players in between the conference championship games and the first round of the playoff. And then make the national championship game around New Year's Day. Now, if you don't want to compete with the NFL, I understand that. You can move it forward or backwards, just depending on New Year's Day and all that jazz. But do it. Fixing the playoff would be great. I am going to just get comfortable in realizing that we're going to get more expansion. I think it's stupid, absolutely dumb to expand. But since you're going to get it, play with the numbers. Play with the system. I don't like buys, but if you're going to give a buy, reward those teams that have a bye and give them a home game. There are so many things to this sport that I enjoy. There are things that frustrate me with this sport as well. This sport is one that I don't think is in like a crossroads to where those that are in charge and those that are broadcasters are so at odds, and it's so in contention because of some decisions that are made. I wouldn't go that far. While there's a lot of people that are disgruntled, Kirk Herbstreit, Chris Fowler, being a couple of them because of the way that they broadcasted that, some things they said. There are also people like Dusty Dvorak, former college football player, a guy that called, I want to say it was the Texas and Clemson game, a guy that's on national radio, and I want to say local radio too. I know national radio, he's there. One thing I know about Dusty Dvorak, he loves his sport. How did it come up? It came up at the beginning of that broadcast. I looked at him, and I believe he was with Dave Pasch calling that game. And Dusty Dvorak was so excited. He had a smile going from ear to ear, talking about college football. He was enthusiastic. You saw the passion while he was speaking. He loves it. I love this sport. While I don't like the format, I'm not here to bash this thing every single day. College football is great. There are always tweaks that can be made. I can make tweaks with the NFL. I can make tweaks with the NBA. If I was that big in the NHL and the MLB, I can make tweaks there too. You can make tweaks to things. Tweaks aren't bad. Tweaks are needed sometimes. And I think right now the CFP format needs to be tweaked. Move the schedule up, move the calendar up, allow the portal and the early national signing period to be at the end of the season. Move everything up. Allow more games to be played on home campuses, schools can accommodate it. Trust me. If you mean to tell me that Ohio State has a chance to host multiple playoff games, they will say, oh, no, we don't want to do that because we can't handle it. Please. Ain't nobody know about that nonsense. They'll figure it out. NBA, you can find out on a Friday you got a game 7 on a Sunday. And what are you going to do? Sell them tickets, sell that bad boy out, and put on the greatest environment for that game right there in front of everybody. Because that's what you do. And just make sure this is what you do. The format, while it's currently flawed, it can be tweaked and made better. I think that's the approach. A lot of people that host shows, that are broadcasters, a lot of people can just say, okay, we may not like this thing. How can we make it better? We may like this thing. How can we make it better? And be very optimistic about the things going on in the sport instead of negative about things that get under your skin. Thank y'all for tapping in Locked On Buckeyes right here on a Tuesday on Christmas Eve. Merry Christmas Eve to everybody. Hope everybody, you, your family, your friends, your people, you all have a Merry Christmas tomorrow and open up presents. Maybe you're going to watch the NFL on the Netflix. I know somebody else also saw on the Facebook they ended up getting Netflix. Didn't have it already. Kind of surprised me. But they ended up getting the Netflix just to watch the football. Great. If you want to watch NBA like most people do on Christmas, great. Whatever you want to do, make sure you do it with your family and friends and make sure that you are safe and you're sound and you're secure and you enjoy the day. The show, we're going to have a lot of porn, a lot of Rose Bowl talk the rest of the week leading into the Rose Bowl game played on New Year's Day. The granddaddy of them all, Ohio State and Oregon, who I believe are the two best teams remaining in the college football playoff. You can follow me on X at jstevens07. Send every email to jstevens317@gmail.com. We're up out of here, Buckeye fans, on a Christmas Eve. Merry Christmas, everybody.